These are 6 ways that I find land to be able to purchase and utilize to build multifamily. And one of the biggest things is being able to go in there and not only know how to find land, but what land do you find? And let's talk about 3 different residential types of land and how we can use those. I'm going to go over 6 strategies that I utilize to find land, but I'm going to go over 5 different types of land at the end of this video to share with you guys exactly what those 5 types of land are, what the downfalls are, what the pros and what the cons are, and what are the best use for that piece of land to be able to increase density and ultimately benefit the overall profitability of all your multifamily developments. Now, look, one of the big things is getting out there. You have to be active to be able to get out and find land for multifamily. And what you're doing is you're planting seeds. When you plant seeds, you have to water your garden. You have to nurture relationships. And so the number one thing that I go out and do when I first am going out to buy multifamily is I scout the area. And when I'm scouting the area, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for buffer zones. What a buffer zone is it's where commercial meets residential. It's everything in between where commercial meets residential, because there's a buffer zone between commercial land and residential land where you go in and let's say you have like a strip mall over here and it's all retail. Okay, so you have a retail unit, you have a Little Caesars Pizza, you got a little hair place, you got a little coffee shop, whatever it is. So you got your little retail. So this is all retail, okay? And behind it, you have a road. This is a big road right here. This is maybe like an alleyway. And then you have houses. You got a bunch of houses, okay? These are all houses, and these houses have a buffer zone that's either someplace attached to the end cap, the sides, or the alleyway. And so this is your buffer zone right here. And so when you go into these buffer zones, they don't want you to be right on top of the front road sometimes, and sometimes they don't want you in the residential. Now, if in the municipality they allow you to be able to have road frontage, utilize it. Road frontage is the best type of area for multifamily because exposure is everything. Attention is what you want. So if you're able to go into the retail areas, pay attention to those retail areas. If you can go right behind the retail areas, on the side of the retail areas, or right in the residential areas on the corner cusp, usually on the end caps of these residential areas, those are all buffer zones. So I just want to scout my area and I want to look to see what the area looks like. And these are areas sometimes that you've been driving since you were a little kid. You might be 30 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old, doesn't matter. But you've been blind to what these buffer zones are because you haven't paid attention to them in lieu of buying them for multifamily. Now it's time to go back out with a different lens to be able to go out and see what these areas look like. What I'm looking for is stuff I can tear down. So I'm looking for car washes. I'm looking for old banks. I'm looking for old houses. I'm looking for these areas that have high traffic counts, but maybe distressed properties that were built back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whenever they were built. But I can go in, I can either demo them or infill lots where I can go in and build. A lot of times people are just going in looking for vacant land. That isn't where most of the best multifamily is built, especially on high traffic areas within the city. Most of the high traffic areas in the city have pre-existing real estate on them. And the goal is for you to be able to go into these areas and be able to tear down something. We've done it with bowling alleys. We've done it with old office buildings. We've done it with old car washes. We've done it with all types of different real estate. And you drive by it every single day. It's the real estate where a restaurant has failed in an old retail center that is old, it's ugly, and nothing has ever succeeded there. But 20 different restaurants over the course of your life have been in, out, and shut down over the course of time. Go in, reposition, scrape the land, and rebuild multifamily. Those are the areas that you should be paying attention to. Now, when you go in, we look at these buffer zones. Now we go in, we want to look at the multiple listings. You can go into a lot of different listing sites now, even like Zillow, and you can go into LoopNet, you can go into CoStar, and a lot of these listing sites, and you want to become aware of what's available in your market. Now, when you do that, you want to be able to drive those areas. Now, so the MLS. Now, number 3, wholesalers. Wholesalers can go in and bring you deals. Allow wholesalers to go in and scout the area for you. If you explain to them what we're going over today in this video, these folks can bring you deals that you may not have access to. These guys are doing what's called skip tracing. Now, you could do skip tracing yourself, or you can get somebody to do it for you. A lot of the wholesalers are doing the skip tracing for you. And what they're doing is they're going after properties that are usually not on the market. They're not for sale. Nobody knows about them. They're reaching out to people in lots and land that would otherwise be great areas areas for development or redevelopment, but nobody knows about them because they're not listed. And the only way to get access to those properties is for either a wholesaler to go in and find those properties for you, or for you yourself to go in, skip trace, and reach out to the owners, do mailers, or call them to be able to get in contact to see if they have interest in selling those properties. A lot of these properties have been aired on to other people. Kids don't want to have to deal with it. We just picked up a car wash the other day that we're actually going to put into 30 units of multifamily, just a small development. And one of the big things for that 30-unit development, the two brothers that own the land actually work full-time jobs. Their dad was the entrepreneur. There's a retail facility with a veterinarian clinic in it, a barber shop, and then behind it is all land that used to be a car wash that the concrete needs to be scraped, graded, and then we go vertical with new construction. We did another one where there was an old office building. The gentleman worked for the laboratories as a scientist, didn't want to have anything to do with real estate. His father owned an old meat market in a retail center, and we landed up going in because he didn't have any interest in leasing the building, being in real estate. We were able to go into an owner finance deal on it and utilize that as an opportunity to purchase real estate. Now, skip tracing is a great way, guys. This is a great way. There's a lot of real estate out there where people just forget about it. It just goes away. They don't want to have to deal with it. They don't have to want to work with it. And it's a physical distressed asset in the middle of the city that you can turn around and profit from, okay? Now, when we go in, brokers are another good way to be able to come in and generate profits on multifamily real estate. Brokers know where the land is, and a lot of deal flow goes through brokers. The good deals never go to the open market. Good brokers go out and they probe their contacts prior to that going to the open market. So a lot of times brokers will go in and they'll make phone calls. They'll just dial. Especially if you're in a big city, they have brokers that specialize in just land. They have brokers that just specialize in multifamily. Good brokers, good land brokers that acquire the land will call their multifamily guys. They'll call their retail guys. They'll call their office guys, and they'll say, hey, I just picked up this piece of land. Do you have any good retail developers that would be interested in this land? Do you have any good multifamily developers that would be interested in this land? Do you have any office developers that would be interested in this land? So brokers are a great way to be able to go in and find land for multifamily, and then drive and call. This is my favorite right here. This is where I find about 90% of my deals, because as I go in and I'm looking for buffer zones, what I'm doing is I'm driving and calling. There's listings by small brokers that are less sophisticated, and even sophisticated brokers. And I'll go in and I'll look for distressed properties that are not just physically distressed, but financially distressed. Financially distressed properties are properties that should be leased up, but they're not leased up. Those properties are properties that should be leased up that are not leased up. But what happens is that those vacancies financially distress the asset, and because it puts downward pressure on that asset because of the property taxes, the insurance, and just the overall expenses to be able to manage and own that real estate, people will sell off that real estate because of the financial distress, and they have to sell it at a discount because there's no bank on this earth that's going to give a loan to an empty building because there's no cash flow. So it has no revenue production. It poses to be a lot of liability on the banks and on the person buying it, unless you have a strategic business model to go out and turn profits from purchasing that land. So that's what the business model is to go in and acquire, to either scrape or reposition to go vertical with multifamily and become cash producing. Okay. Now, in today's market, be careful with converting. There's an absorption rate that's happening between 2024, 2025. Most of the absorption rate that happened post-pandemic and everything that came out of the ground between 2020, 21, 22, 23 is now getting absorbed and has been getting absorbed through 2024 and through the rest of 2025. As we move into 2026, that absorption rate nationwide should start to soften. And so one of the big things is position yourself to go after what is going to be leased first. And when you're repositioning distressed assets, if you have a choice as a renter to either rent under something that's nicer because it's new construction or something that was older and renovated, most people are going to pick the new construction. And when there's a lot of inventory on the market because there was an excess amount of inventory built over a given amount of time, you want to wait to reposition assets until the new multifamily that has been built over the last few years has been absorbed in the market and people are looking and searching for some place to live, but there's nothing available. But when they have choices, they're going to pick new over renovated. And so they're going to pick renovated over old. And so the biggest thing is position yourself to know that so that you don't build during an absorption period of time. 2026 will be a great time to be able to reposition assets. But right now, it's new assets. New assets is where it's at. New assets will lease up. Now, let's talk about the different type of zoning and land that you need to be looking for. So when you're looking at this video, you're sitting back and go, okay, Jerome, now I know where to go to find this land, but what land exactly do I look for, and how do I buy that land? And how can I utilize that land? So let's go through some of the zoning. Now, every single municipality has different zoning designations based on that municipality. So if I call out a zoning code, that's just a zoning code that's general about along most municipalities, but it's different from municipality to municipality. So you got to check your zoning requirements in your area to understand if the zoning code itself falls within what I'm talking about here. This is a great range of understanding to understand what type of real estate you can utilize for development of multifamily. So commercial real estate, guys, commercial real estate. When we go in and we talk about commercial real estate, a lot of the zoning designation on commercial real estate is C1. So the first type of land you want to look for is commercial land. Commercial land is usually designated as C1, okay? Now, different areas have different zoning codes. This is the zoning code right here, okay? Now, with these zoning codes, they're going to change from municipality to municipality, just general commercial zoning. And one of the things I want everybody to understand about commercial zoning is that all commercial zoning have a residential component attached to them, which means you might be able to go in and do straight residential multi-unit real estate. You can't just build a home in a commercially zoned area, but it has a component of residential. And that component typically is dense housing, multifamily, condos, lofts. A lot of inner cities have this. You've seen it in San Francisco. You've seen it in Atlanta, Georgia. You see it in New York City. You see it in a lot of the big cities where there's like retail on the bottom and then residential up on top. Or you see it in really high dense areas by downtown areas in most cities where there's retail on the bottom, residential up on top. Okay, so you can go in, there's a residential component. Now, sometimes you may not want to build retail, which is the case in most developments. And under those circumstances, what we go in is we say, okay, let's acquire this land, but it's contingent on me going in and being able to mitigate the retail component so that I can only build residential multifamily. And so we go in to try to rezone it. And it might go in to be a C2, a C6, whatever that zoning designation, it's a commercial and whatever the designation is on the end. And so it might be a commercial SU, so like commercial special use. So they all have different designations, but the C will typically stand for commercial. Now, residential areas will typically allow multifamily real estate, but it's typically not the R1 residential. So when we go in, this would typically be R1. This is where each one of these is a single family home. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are neighborhoods. And a lot of times they won't allow that. Let's get rid of some of this so we can utilize this for space here, guys. And let's talk about 3 different residential types of land and how we can use those, okay? So when we go in, we have R1. And again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, remember R1. Now, as we go through this, the zoning designation could be different, okay? This is basically residential. Now, typically R1 is single family residential. They won't allow multifamily and R1 real estate. That's where buffer zones become important because a lot of times there's something similar to like an R2 designation or an R3 designation. Some municipalities will call it a residential mixed use. So it might be an RMU designation where it's residential mixed use, where you can go in and it's residential, but it's a mixed use residential. Or maybe there's a little bit of office component that's involved in that residential, or multifamily, or maybe even hotel and hospitality. So there will be multiple types of zoning in these that you find here, right here in these designations. So this one might have a residential component, but this is typically a mixed use residential. Now, as you climb up the numbers on these zoning designations, the larger the number and the more use that zoning has, the better off you'll be to be able to designate that use for multifamily. Sometimes the R2 might be limited to condos. It might be limited to lofts. It might be limited to a single story, certain heights. And you want to check in that zoning, what are the height limits in there? Because if the height limits are only 30 feet, you're only going to be able to get in 2 stories. If the height limits are only 20 feet, you're only going to be able to get 1 story. And sometimes in buffer zones, they don't want to block the views of the residential, or they don't want to have this big monstrosity of a building going up, straddling over the top of a retail center, and then have these big monstrosity of buildings straddling up over the top of residential homes. So we want to be careful and want to make sure that we take a look at these designations. Now, the higher the use, the better the density, okay? You want to be able to go after density on these. So what I'm looking for is if I climb from an R2 to an R3, and if my density goes up from, let's say, 15 units per acre up to 25 units per acre, and I have a full acre, I want to go after this designation, okay? We just did one where we went in after a residential mixed-use development, and there's also commercial mixed-use developments as well, okay? You can buy in any of these areas. And last but not least, office. Let's talk about, a lot of times that's O1, and that's office. Office is a great one in repositioning. Right now, office is so financially distressed, you can typically pick up old office buildings for really low prices because you go in, and if they're only 30% occupied, 50% occupied, that means they're only 50% of the value they would otherwise be if they were fully leased. Because everything is underwritten based on profits and net operating income. And if there is no income, the lower the net operating income, the lower the value. So when we go into these assets, ladies and gentlemen, understand that there's a lot of opportunity in commercial zoning, residential zoning, mixed-use zoning, and office zoning. Any one of those zonings will work for multifamily. So you have a lot of options, and a lot of it takes a little tiny bit of creativity. But when you understand some of the simple ways of how to go out and find land and the different types of land that you can take advantage of developing multifamily real estate, you'll always be able to leverage creative projects for profit in multifamily. And that's how you go out and compound your success. For more tips on how to leverage single family and multifamily development, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel, pound that thumbs up button, give us a little bit of love, and always comment down below. Thank you, and God bless.